So, talk a bit about alcoholism. And because I've just done 10 years without alcohol, and I don't want to preach to anyone about drink, and I don't want to sort of anyone to think that my belief is that it's the way to live or anything like that. But I kind of wish I'd have realised it a bit sooner, because I got to 34 and was in a police cell and just decided that was the end of that. I wasn't going to drink anymore. And it's annoying that it took that long, because I started drinking probably when I was, I just started sort of drinking at 13, 14, I suppose, just messing about, and then became more regular, and I was always sort of searching for something. I always thought I was going to get something out of it. I always thought I could find something by doing it, and I was just stuck in a cycle, really, of just doing the same thing and it ending up the same. So it's kind of a shame to look at that 20-year period and think there's nothing really in that 20-year period that alcohol really helped. It didn't really help anything. It's this kind of illusion that you can do anything, that you can be anything, and that was what used to happen. I just get this real sense that everything, just this sense that you're important in some way, or you can do things that maybe you can't, and then there's the other side of it, which is the depressive side of it, which tells you you're just the most worthless piece of shit and don't deserve to live. And none of that's true. Neither of those things are true. So I suppose by doing a video, it's not so people think that I've achieved something. It's more about, if people hear what I've got to say and it's of some interest, that it might influence people. A lot of people, if they drink and they're happy with how they drink, that's fine. Probably there's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to be relevant. But there's a lot of people that are stuck in it and just going around in circles. And there's these illusions as well that of the creative process being aided by drink, which I think is an illusion. I don't think it helps. I really don't think it helps at all. Maybe I'll do a video about other substances and my beliefs about them, but alcohol, I really don't believe it. I mean, it may be a shortcut to something in terms of creativity, but I don't think shortcuts are a good idea. And I mean, in terms of sort of loosening things up or dropping inhibitions, I think you can get there without it. I think you make more sense without it. You can be more creative without it. That's what I believe. Someone asked me the other day about the impact on creativity, and I think before I stopped, I would believe what I was doing was good, and it would just end up being shit a lot of the time. And you can practice, and you can practice when you're sober, and then do a gig when you've had a bottle of brandy and just completely ruin it. And that's what I used to do, and it's just not a healthy place to be, really. And I think stopping drinking meant I had a chance to really have therapy, because I had anxiety. I went to anxiety management and I went to anger management when I was in my 20s, and I used to turn up drunk. I'd drink bottles of beer and then turn up, and it was just completely pointless. So I've trained as a therapist in my 30s, gone through loads and loads of therapy, and feel like I kind of have come out the other side of it, really. There's certain issues that I had that I couldn't really explore when I was drinking. It just didn't really work, because I was always using that as the answer. I was always using that as something that would provide a momentary cure for it, that would give me that would numb me, so I didn't have to think about those things, and I was just stuck, really. And so, as far as the creative process, I really think it's helped, and professionally as well, doing work that I love, which has been based around that kind of thing initially as well, around addiction and whatnot, and working in there's something about ego as well in this, that working in a rehab, and I would run the creative therapy, because I've always been creative. I've always, my dad was a printer, and there was always paper around him. I'd just draw. In my childhood, I used to be drawing and writing stuff all the time, and always loved it. And Focus 12 and Art Heads as well in Bury, I was in a position where I could encourage people that had never done it before. So they might have come out of prison and had a life of crime or whatever, addiction, and just no creative output whatsoever, and to be able to to encourage them to write some poetry, or to draw a picture, or to define something, higher power, or masks, or just some sort of psychological element to the creativity, and we'd sit in a circle and share them, and it would be amazing, because people would it was powerful, because it wasn't people that had that opportunity before, and people would be in tears because they'd tapped into something, and it's so pure and it was so innocent. And I think what that did for me was really remove me from the idea of what being in a band is, and what doing stuff in bands should mean, or not should mean, but what it is often associated with, which is something just so self-indulgent. And I think that drinking was a part of that. Is that the bands that I was into and the music I was into, it was like drinking and taking drugs and everything was just part of it. Therefore, you just did it. And I now realise that it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be linked together like that. And after I stopped, I got back in bands, and I started having fun again in bands, and started twatting around at the front, and that was really fun, and realised I didn't have to be drunk to do that. I could be a sort of knobhead frontman, which is what I believe frontmen should be. It's your duty to be a knobhead, and I'd love it, and it felt really freeing. It didn't feel like I was weighed down with drink, or I wouldn't use it as an excuse for anything. It's like, this is what I'm like. I'm a bit of a twat like everybody else, and I'm not going to say I was drunk, so therefore I did this or that. It's just, that doesn't exist anymore. It feels more authentic. It feels more consistent. The person that you are when you're performing and you're doing those things is the person that you are in the queue at the supermarket. You're the same person all the time, and I think that's a really good way to integrate the different parts of yourself, which didn't happen when I drank, because I'd go into a room, I'd go into a pub, and just be completely full of fear, full of anxiety, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Then I'd have a drink, and then I'd become noisy and sort of turn into Adrian Edmondson and shout and be Larry, and it's better to, for me, it's better to be sort of somewhere in the middle, really, just, those parts, neither of those parts feel authentic, really. They feel like they're born out of fear, I guess. Yeah, I think another part of it is the kind of the drinking culture, that there's such an expectation. And I remember the first time I played, when we played in London, the first Voter Colonel gig, and I didn't know what to do afterwards. We finished, but it was a wake, I think. I think there was a wake. It was some pub in Brixton, and afterwards I didn't know what to do, because what I would do after I played was just go straight to the bar. So I didn't have a clue what to do with myself. It was really weird. It took some getting used to. That was really difficult. The first year was really difficult because everyone would just be drinking, and it was just what you do. So I think now I'm in a position where I don't drink. I haven't really done any gigs. I haven't done any gigs really since lockdown. But I think getting back into it will be, yeah, it will be fun. It will be fine. But it's just the pub thing, the culture of going into a pub and the bar staff sort of taking the piss or whatever, and you just think, why do you have to go through that ritual every time? You know, I can joke about it, but it's not really that funny, and it's not really that helpful. When, if people want to go into a pub just because they want to go in a pub, and they don't necessarily want to get pissed. This kind of sense of binge drinking culture, it's really unhelpful. It would be better if we could have sort of communities maybe where we can get together and just spend time together. I think there is some of that happening. I think that hopefully is happening more. But yeah, there's a kind of, yeah, it's kind of an illusion that it brings, that you're doing well or that you're succeeding, and that ability to sort of critique yourself and critique your progression. I think that just gets turned off. You just think you're the best, and it's bad, I think, really. And someone asked me about if it manifests itself in stuff that I create, and I don't think it does really. I mean, in terms of sort of addiction and recovery or whatever, I don't think it really does. I think if I'm writing stuff, it could be interpreted in different ways, because that to me is more interesting. I think when I hear songs and they're just so blatantly about one thing that individual that's singing it is experiencing, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with it as such. I prefer stuff that's a bit more, where there's a bit more symbolism, or something that you can, some sort of wordplay that you can interpret in different ways. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. If anyone's got any questions about it, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, it's just it's I guess it's kind of a shame that it took me nearly going to prison for me to be I was in the police cell, and I just said, that's it now, I'm done now, and I narrowly avoided going to prison. But it's a shame that it took that, really. I knew it had to stop, but there were nights where I didn't drink and I had a good time. But there's just something about it that I always thought that by drinking it would give me something. It would give me answers, and it never ever did. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that. But if there's anything else that anyone wants to know about, I mean, it's the first time I've done a video, so I don't really know. It's kind of weird, I guess. But yeah, if it's helpful to anybody, then just let me know. So that's it. I'm going to leave it there. Cheers.